Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my backyard. This time we're going to be cutting up some boards, which would be a little bit different than usual. A lot of people ask, Matt, how come I never see you cut any boards? You're always cutting all these live edge slabs and things. Well, I like big stuff, like really big logs. And really big logs, they say to me, Matt, I'm a big log. I need you to make me into a big slab. So that's what I do. That's what I enjoy the most, is cutting the really big logs. At least to me, it seems like there's a lot more potential for those large logs to turn into larger slabs, which then can be further broken down by someone actually making them into something versus me cutting them up into a bunch of boards, and then hopefully someone needs that size of board or whatever. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the small stuff, like these guys here, make pretty good boards because you kind of have a normal size board width, and it's a little bit quicker, I guess, when you're processing things like this. So I have a bunch of small logs in my pile that I want to get sawn up into boards. I've got some cherry. I have a few pieces of red oak, which are kind of smaller. I have a couple pieces of walnut, which are smaller. And I also have a piece of cottonwood right here, which I'm excited to cut because I haven't cut cottonwood before, and I'm excited to see what it's kind of like. So that should be kind of fun. If you haven't seen one of my board cutting videos before, these, I guess, sort of general workflow for these is to turn the small log into a cant, or essentially just kind of square it up, set it aside, and repeat that process until I have a bunch of those cants all squared up, and I can slice all the cants all at once on the sawmill. Because the throat on the saw is so wide, I can stack a bunch of cants side by side and just make one slice and cut, 4 or 5 cants into boards all at once. So I'm gonna start off with the cherry log up top, get that down, get it on the saw, get it squared up, and we'll see where we go from there. If you didn't see the video where I went and picked these cherry logs up, I will leave you a link to that. That was a fun little pickup in the back of a small property. Had to go through the woods up a hill, and it was an interesting recovery. So I'll leave you a link to that video if you want to check that out. So only a few minutes into the video and I'm already lying. So I'm not gonna actually square this guy up. I'm gonna leave it with its live edge on there. This one has some kind of goofy curves to it, which I want to preserve. That's gonna give me some areas of curving grain for furniture parts that have curves in them. So ideally, or at least in my mind, someday this will become a piece of furniture, obviously. So this piece, as well as the logs logs from the rest of the tree, which should be a little straighter, will give me some straight areas. This will give me some curved areas, so I have more fluid grain. So that's what I kind of think about as I'm sawing stuff on purposes, is having some flexibility with how I can lay out my parts so that the grain makes the most sense within them. So this one is good to go. It's on the lumber scale right now, so it has 9 4/4 boards in it, so that'll get sliced up with the other ones. So this one's good to go. It can come off the saw and we can grab the next log. And yes, I'm out of breath. So you can see I'm kind of sawing a little more conservatively. I'm going to call this hybrid sawing, somewhere between sawing boards and sawing slabs. The biggest disadvantage of sawing slabs is the fact that as you stack them to dry, it's not really as compact. You don't really get to use up all of the available space as well. Boards, all edged and uniform, you can stack them all nicely together. There's a lot less dead space in the stack. So this is somewhere between them. I'll have more material that's not going to be thrown into the burn pile at this stage. It might later on in the shop when I make the decision of how this is going to become a final piece, but at least I have somewhere between that, this getting rid of all of my options and cutting them straight up into edged up boards versus leaving them all as live edge slabs and being able to do whatever I want with them, but not being able to dry them as efficiently. So that's going to be it for this guy. I have one face left, which will be the first cut that we'll make when everything is stacked together on the saw. So that's the second long one, and it looks like I have two short cherry logs next, which are pretty gnarly looking. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with these. The first one looks pretty cool though. So this one's a little more uniform in shape, but what's interesting about this guy is it actually has a burl on it right here. So let's think about how we're going to cut that. Let's take a quick look at this guy. So we have the burl section here in the middle, and then you can see we have this damaged area up here that actually comes up. So as I'm thinking about sawing this, I'm essentially going to forget about this. I'm going to pretend this was just cut off right here. I'm not going to bother with cutting it off, but I'm going to leave it like that. So there are two ways to think about how you want to have the burl figure present itself in your actual boards. So if you cut in this plane here, like if I roll it over completely like this, if you were to cut it this way, you're going to have a section of burl and a section of like normal wood down here. So your board is going to be like half wood, wood, burl, and then wood again. If you saw completely through the burl in like this orientation, you'll have wood, burl section, and then wood again. And then once you get down past the burl area, you'll have normal wood all the way through the whole length again. So those are kind of your two general ways to saw burls. I'm going to saw it in this orientation, so I have wood, the whole width burl, and then wood again at the top. So just like it's laying here right now. And again with this, I'm really just going to come in here and square it up or flatten it out so that it can go in the pile with all the other cants later on. And I think this I'm just going to leave live edge because I don't want to trim off any of the excess burl. So I'll come in here and 10 inches. All right, so again, fairly conservative. I'm just going to knock off the high spots and give us a flat reference to put down towards the bed. Right, let's have a peek. Oh yeah, got some burl. So we have some nice burly eyes and things. So as we're cutting into this, you can kind of see that as we get further into the meat here, we'll have, you know, a board, a burl section, the whole width burl, and then wood again, versus the other way is you would have basically just like a bulge on the side of a board. So again, that's as far as this one's going to go. That's our flat surface. Now we can roll it over and slice it into boards, or this is still going to be live edge slabs, but it'll be 4/4 material. So next up, got this guy, which is kind of gnarly and kind of broken and stuff, and you can see it's got some rot action going on there. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this. This side looks a little bit better, but it's still got a rotten pith going on. With the curve in here, you're not going to really get like actual boards out of this, so this has to be live edge slabs, otherwise it has to be 2-foot long boards, which probably not going to be super great. So I'll probably just leave that for now. Next, let's do this little crotch here. I got this maple crotch. This was an offcut from the log that my buddy John gave me. If you missed that one, I'll leave you a link to that as well. But this is an upper section crotch thingy. It's like 3 feet long, nice little crotch. Let's throw it on the saw and at least get the flat face on it so it can go in the pile for slicing up later. All right, so that crotch is ready for slicing. I think it's getting dark. This time of year is always kind of sad. It's only 4 o'clock and it's like getting there. So what we got? I got this cottonwood, which I'm excited to saw into. I think before I head in though, I'm gonna throw this one off into the pile and pull out, basically stage the rest of the log pile for tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and probably 6. Good morning, everybody. It is extremely nice out today. It's already almost 50 degrees. It's 10 a.m. and it's like the week before Thanksgiving. This is some really nice warm weather, which is unseasonably warm for this time here in Minnesota. So I was supposed to be at the new house today, mudding the walls in the shop to get that ready to actually move into. But I ain't gonna be inside today. No way. So here we are inside again. We're gonna do some more sawing. First one on the saw right here is a piece of walnut. It's about 12 feet long, and what we got, like maybe 16 inches in diameter. My buddy Dan brought this over. He brought me the big log, the big maple log with the integrated bird feeder, and he had these 2 walnut logs, and he's like, I was gonna cut these into a 4/4, and he has a chainsaw mill. And here's a little something. You know, friends don't let friends cut 4/4 boards with a chainsaw mill. It's that's a lot of labor for a tiny little board. So I told him just to bring them over and I will slice them up for him. And he's okay with the time frame, which is whenever I get around to it. And it has been 7 months. So here we go. Another little thing since yesterday, I think we're gonna have 2 different thickness or 2 different rounds of cutting, a 4/4 round and a 8/4 round. So the 8/4 round is gonna allow me to just slice up this crotch piece here into 8/4, which is probably a little better for something like that. I also have this larger piece of red oak, which would be better as 8/4 versus 4/4. So for sure those 2 will go through as 8/4, and then the rest of the stuff will go through as 4/4. So I have this second walnut log here from Dan, which I'll cut as well. So let's get going on this first guy right here. You can see this one's got this little bend in the top area here. Waiting for the airplanes. All right, so normally you would just whack this off of here and this would be like a waste piece. I'm just gonna leave it on. It's gonna make this end of the board look a little bit like skinny and narrow, but I'd rather just leave it on there and then cut this off and have nothing to do with this, because I already got enough stuff laying around, so I'm gonna leave it in. So in this case, I have oriented it so it's kind of like it's bent over this way, so it's not affecting how the log is sitting level on the bed right now. So you can see it's still very consistent as it sits on there, and then this isn't really impacting how it's sitting at all. So same general process with this one again. We're gonna get 3 sides squared up and get that 3rd side set on a lumber scale so it can go back on with all the other cants. All right, is everyone who's gonna tell me how they don't like the way I feed my saw, have they left their comment already to let me know? No? All right, I'll wait. So as you can see on this one, the end of that log has got that big bend in it, so I'm just leaving it on there and turning it into sawmill waste versus, you know, a firewood around waste essentially. All right, this one's a little straighter than the last one. All right, this one's squared up enough. Again, I'm cutting fairly conservatively. So we'll get this one set aside, and then the one I'm most excited for is the cottonwood, which is next. In the pile. This one should be pretty interesting. You can see we have the buttress root down here, which is going to give us some figure down this area, and you can already see that's all curl through here. So you can see the undulation here. That's curly grain within here, and it looks like it's been sitting for a bit. We got a little bit of spalting starting to form. So this should be pretty cool. I have it oriented like this, so the this will get cut off, but I think we'll end up cutting this again, and we'll get some interesting little pieces out of it. But I also raise up this end down here to kind of level things out a little bit and get things going. So I'm gonna start getting this thing cut up into our cant. Again, probably gonna saw pretty conservatively, just to keep the most material in the cant as possible. All right, let's have a quick look. It's just like kind of weird. It's like, I don't know, it's wet like it should be, but it's like almost gummy. The sawdust. Weird. Definitely a very blonde wood. That's for sure. All right, let's roll it. Yeah, this stuff saws kind of differently. It's like the sawdust is much clingier or something. Maybe it's the high fibrosity of the wood? I don't know. I don't know. A little bit goofier. Okay, I think we should be good enough right now to start cutting some boards. We've got, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So I'm gonna just grab the grapple and we'll get these logs laid up onto the saw. Maybe we'll just call this one Matt Plays with the Grapple. That's what it feels like I'm doing. The giant claw game. I guess I don't have quite the throat width that I thought I did for this. Let's see, are these all the way over? Yeah, okay. That's because I left some of these ones with like live edges. What did I do here? This is the wrong way. It's too early for this. I can't think. There we go. I think I'm still gonna be not enough room for that cottonwood. Yeah, this is gonna be a little tight. That's all right. We'll do the cottonwood separately. Okay, so now with all these on here, all I have to do now is just walk down the lumber scale, which I have a 4/4 scale right here. So if you've seen one of these before, these indicators on here are 4/4 boards. These are gonna give you an 1.1/8" thick board, plus it counts for the kerf of the blade. So all I have to do is just come down in increments here. Our first one's probably gonna be around here, and I'll step down until we get all the way down to 1. Eventually, you know, we'll start cutting into probably these ones first. Those first ones will become the waist cuts, and then we'll keep going down. We'll get through all the waist, and then we'll start having some full width boards or full length boards. We're gonna scoot that second one back a little bit. It's like just outside the range of the winch feed. This next cut will be skimming the one in the middle and cutting into the one on the end. Number 8 position. So I'm really excited to take a look at this cherry log because we should be able to start seeing the burl as we get down past, probably like just past the pith. So this is, you know, pretty standard cherry. Nothing super crazy going on here. We got a little bit of kind of like a rot stain kind of thing going on here in the middle, which I actually like. You can see we're starting to get into some burl action right here. So a little bit of wavy grain here as we're getting down into part of that burl. Let's see, we'll keep going here. Some more interesting figure and things going on down here. A lot of interesting, weird stuff going on here as we're getting to the, I guess, the core of the burl. Getting a little more interesting, weird stuff going on there, which is good. We got some discoloration from, here we go. There was this old limb here that's letting some rot staining down into the rest of the tree. There we go. Right here. So we got this kind of old limb that's creating all of this stain. Still structurally fine, just got discoloration. Oh yeah, look at that. That is cool. That looks like, I don't know what that looks like, something weird. Something real goofy. And then this is the last one, I think. Second last one? Second last one. So now we're into a little more of the burl. That is really cool. We got a little bit of burl action peeking out around some wood. So as we discussed at the beginning, this is what I was kind of talking about. You got a full width burl area and you have wood top and bottom. Versus the other way you would cut it, you would have essentially like a bulbous thing on one side and you have wood, 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 burl. So a couple of different ways to present it to the face of the board. And then down here, more kind of burly action as well. So that's pretty cool. That's gonna make something really sweet someday, whenever I figure out what it wants to be. So for the rest of these, I think I'm just gonna fork them off of here and I'll have them to stack. They're gonna go over to the other property anyway. So if I just fork them off like this, I can throw them on the trailer as a whole unit. So I'm gonna get them off of here. And then the walnut we'll take a little peek at. That again is going over to my buddy Dan, so he's gotta come get them. Get them out of here. See what we got here in the middle. Let's take a little peek. Ooh, that is some clean looking walnut. Let's take a little peeky. Whatever that means. And as always, walnut's gonna be pretty well green kind of hue when it's freshly sawn, and then it will oxidize to the color you expect, the more, I don't know, purpley brown kind of color. So this stuff is pretty clear. Like, that's some pretty clear walnut. We're at a bit over 12 inches wide, I think. This is like 14 wide. So pretty good looking. You can see the oxidation down here already as it oxidizes from the end grain. Man, that's beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's see if we can get this cottonwood sliced up real quick. Oh man, this thing's like slimy. That's weird. I think I might actually just cut this with this live edge on here. That might be kind of cool, actually. So roll back. Oh, jeez. Something crazy here. I'm just gonna get the saw back to slicing up boards, and we'll just kind of run through this and see what we get out of it. So since I have no idea what I'm going to do with this yet, I left that bottom one there as 2 pieces, so it's like 9/4-ish. So that'll give me some thicker material if I need it. Oh man, these are cool. I'm excited to show you these things. That's got some figure. I'll tell you what, this stuff saws kind of weirdly. Like, even the sawdust is different. It's like stringy or something. So I don't know, maybe it's just like, it's like super fibrous. I mean, that's weird. So, let's see, this is cherry. So it's a little, I guess, dustier. This is like, I don't know, it's different. It's very weird. It's definitely a different sawing wood. And you can see like how fibrous it is just by all the little, where's my finger? Can't, there, all the little pulled fibers. So I think it's just like a really fibrous tree, which makes sawing a little bit different than normal things, I guess. So I want to take a look at these little, let's call them medallions or something like that. This has got some really, really cool compression figure from around that root. Yeah, there we go. Some really cool figure and color, and just a really awesome looking piece. So I'm glad I cut these things up, because I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but it's kind of small, but man, it's got some really cool figure in it. So make some nice little box tops for like a little box or something. It's a good size for that. It's a good amount of figure in these things. These are pretty cool. I don't know, it's kind of a cool wood. It's got, it's almost silver maple-y, because it has some of the same hues, but a little more subdued. So it's got the reds and the grays and the blues in there and the yellows. It's like silver maple does, but it's not as vivid, I guess, more blonde. And what's interesting is I thought that this would be something like spalting, but there isn't a whole lot of spalting penetration in here. So a little bit of discoloration right here, but that's it. Interesting. Didn't really go that far. Let's take a quick look. That's what the wood looks like. It is very blonde. This is a good one. Yeah, it's like fuzzy. It's very weird. That's kind of cool though. It's got a really, really light, almost elm-like grain look to it. Because it has sort of an elm looks kind of like that with the grain, but the color is more, I don't know, yellow. I don't know, very blonde. Very cool though. Some kind of reds and stuff down here. It's kind of interesting. And my big thick one here. It's got my nail in it right there. So we got a little tiny nail right there. Nothing too big. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think color-wise, this is pretty awesome stuff. Yeah, that's nice. Pretty happy with this. So we'll get the stuff stacked and dried, and then sometime Matt will work with cottonwood for the first time. We'll see what that's like. welcome to the future. So I'm out stacking this stuff finally. I'm in the, I guess, the side horse shelter on the property, starting to fill this one up. So this stuff is going to go in the back here. I'm going to end up keeping all of this. So this is stuff that I'll use sometime in the future, and I don't need it to be super accessible. So it's all getting stacked back here. We're going to take a little peek at some stuff, and then yeah, wood. So this is the first time that I've actually transported water for this purpose out of necessity, because this is nowhere near a water source. So we're gonna be a little bit conservative here with the water today. So this cherry's got some, normal, really nice cherry color, but you can see we did have some pith rot. So the very center of the tree has a bit of rot in it. And what's interesting is you can see the pith is entering and exiting these two faces here. So kind of a cool look. But again, with this one, I'm really excited about the curvature in the grain. It'll make for some really nice curved furniture parts, like this nice saw curve here, which would be great for the arch top of a cabinet or something along those lines. Another thing the rot does, and we've talked about this in the past, is it does change the color a little bit. So you have the actual rot, so this is punky, but then you also have the staining associated with it, which makes a much deeper, richer red color. So this is actually stained through here because of that rot right there. Now these are the cherry boards. These are from the, I guess, one of the other sections of that log, or I guess whatever, the log that got cut into edged boards. Some really nice color, and I think overall, more than anything, I'm just, my frame of reference is so skewed because I've been cutting big stuff for so long that when I first got these logs, I was like, some small logs. This is a typical width board, or even like a wide board in most instances. This is probably 10 inches wide or so. So my perspective has definitely been skewed on the size of logs versus what you get out of them. So I was expecting much smaller boards out of these. So here's a closer look, a little more rough and fuzzy kind of looking at this point, but color looks pretty good. Okay, we got a piece of cherry, and now we have some of that red oak. Kind of want to see what this red oak looks like. Looks like it's pretty clear. Yeah, ain't bad. It's actually pretty nice looking. We got a little bit of fun color around that knot there, but generally though, there's not really any knots and things down there. Same thing going on down here. A couple of knots there, but really, really clear stuff. Not bad. And then we got some more cherry here. There we go. Cherry, red oak, red oak, red oak. So this is that kind of shorter red oak log that was a little bit bigger. I cut this at 8/4 since it is kind of a wider piece of wood. Gives you a little more opportunity to use some thicker material for other things within a project. So this stuff ended up being, fairly clear. We got a few central knots here, but otherwise pretty nice and clear as far as the grain is concerned. Now, of course, these are the ones that I'm the most excited about. The little crotch slabs. Very nice. Got some nice crotch figure in these things, and of course, silver maple's got that nice, reddish, yellow, orange hue. Yeah, that's nice. So in a future video, you'll see me cut these two red oak logs, unless maybe you're watching this far out to the future, in which case, maybe you've seen that video. That is the last time I used the sawmill at the old house. These are the last two logs that I cut there. And when I cut them, I just cut them and just forked them onto the trailer to bring them here. So I had not looked at these at all. So we're gonna take a look at these real quick. Let's take a look at a couple of these, or a few of these. So this is some red oak. It's got a nice kind of fun crotch kind of curve thing in it. And that is pretty darn cool. So this guy actually has a little bit of rot. So there was probably an old limb somewhere in this area, and we've got some rot infiltration. So all of this is punky. It's kind of like grayish stuff, but then the area around it, this darker area, that's just stained. So it's just discolored because it's close to that rot. But that is a cool piece of wood. This is definitely pretty interesting because as we're getting here towards the center, we have some ray fleck here from being quarter sawn. We also have, you know, the rot staining in the middle, and then we have a nice dash of crotch figure up in the top bit there. That's a really interesting looking piece of wood, that's for sure. All right, let's take a look at this guy. Ooh, pretty. We are through a lot of the crotch figure there at the top. Down here though, we are quarter sawn, so we got some interesting fun ray fleck down there, and you know, most of the crotch figure is gone now. We have a little dash figure on this side. So I'm going to throw these last two up onto the stack, and then we'll just quickly take a look at that little guy back there. This one looks like it's kind of towards the middle and got a little bit of quarter sawn grain. So yeah, there's some ray fleck on these guys. We'll do them both. Let's just do these two. They're book matched. So yeah, these ones have kind of a fun shape with a little slight curve in them. And then we are into quarter sawn grain. As you can see, this one's got some pretty heavy ray fleck going on there. Yeah, this one's got quite a bit too. Those are nice. So it always sort of surprises me, even though I've done it for a long time, like how much wood is produced by, you know, relatively small logs. So that's a pretty good sized stack. Still plenty of room in this little area here for plenty more, which, you know, will be here soon. Well, soon enough. So that is, that's all the small logs from the driveway that were sitting there, I guess, last year. So we're getting down to the last of all the sawing that happened at the old house. I think there is one more to go, which will be the last time that I used the saw at the old house. So look for that coming up soon. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about small logs or anything on the sawmill or back in the shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.